Hello and welcome. My name is Joseph Hill, and today I'm going to be starting a short series on tools to aid in MTG and MTGO finance. It's mainly going to be focused on spreadsheets, specifically Google Sheets. The rationale behind this is I am currently participating in Card Hoarder's Battle of Ticks challenge, where 5 contestants were each given 500 event tickets to see how much money they can make on MTGO over a 5-month period. And at the beginning of that, we were each given a Google Sheets document to keep track of all of our transactions. And since getting that, I've been playing around with Google Sheets and have basically built a bare bones inventory management system that I thought would be useful to put out there in the community for everyone to use. Hopefully everyone watching will take at least something away from this. I know that some people are more familiar with spreadsheets than others, but there's always things to learn, because I found that Google Sheets is actually quite powerful and can do lots of different things. So let's get down to explaining the spreadsheet that I have and am sharing with everyone, and how it works and what features it has. So first off, if you've ever used a spreadsheet, you might have encountered this, where you have labels in your column headers that as you scroll down, they disappear. This can be quite annoying as you get down into a spreadsheet and would like to have these labels to know what goes in what column. So one way to very easily fix this is to just freeze that top row. So if you go into View, Freeze, One Row, now this top row is frozen, meaning as you scroll down, it stays there all the time. In all the other sheets of this spreadsheet, I have already frozen that row for you, but I wanted to show you how to do it. And it works similarly in Microsoft Excel, so that you can do it in any other type of spreadsheet you may be using. So one caveat before we start: this spreadsheet was of course designed for the Battle of Ticks challenge, so it may have some features you're not interested in. You can simply delete them or modify them to suit your needs. For starters, we have the date of the transaction. It's always useful to know when you've bought into a card and when you've sold out of it, to determine how long you've been holding it. We have an approximate time, which most people probably aren't going to be interested in knowing when it was purchased to that level of detail. This next column is extremely important. It determines whether your transaction was a purchase or a sale, and the only 2 valid inputs are buy or sell, and they are case sensitive. Next is the quantity, and the card name, card set, the value of an individual card in the transaction, and then in this column there's a formula that just multiplies the individual card value by the quantity and gives you the total amount spent in the transaction or gained. And lastly, we have the bot or bot chain that the purchase was made at. For Battle of Ticks, I need to keep track of the orphaned credit I have laying around in bots, so that at the end I can collect that and maximize my profits. Inputting a bot name in the transaction form here will automatically populate this region of the spreadsheet, and that keeps track of all the credit you have and all of the bots you've purchased here. So for you guys, it might be very useful to keep track of and have a list of where you have credit in bots, rather than have a piece of paper or a text document or just your memory to go by. And again, specific for Battle of Ticks, we started with 500 tickets. You may want to do something similar, where you start with a particular bankroll and see how far you can get, or you can do the inverse, where instead you start at 0 and invert this formula so that it counts up and keeps track of how much you have invested. And along with the bot credits, credits on or tickets on Magic Online are indivisible, so then we have this credit system which effectively orphans some of your money. As you can see here in this template that I've already filled in partially to give you an idea how the sheet works, we have 494.85 tickets remaining to be spent. However, some of that is locked away specifically in these bots. So in reality, once you subtract that quote-unquote orphaned credit, there's only 491 whole event tickets left in your account. So if you had started, for example, in a completely blank account, this is what it should look like. You should have 491 tickets and credit on these bots, as well as whatever cards you've purchased. So inputting cards in the transaction log form will automatically carry them over via a formula to the second sheet, which is your current portfolio. And that keeps track of all the cards you currently have. Their quantity, name, set, how much you've spent, how many you've bought, and of course the average price you've paid for each one. As you sell cards, it will keep track of the number sold and how much sold, and of course your investment. So this subtracts any sales you make from what you initially spent. Additionally, I have two links that are auto-populated by the name, set, and collector number that is input here. The collector number right now has to be done manually. I'm looking into an automatic way to have it be inputted. But if you do put that in, that turns on both of these links here. The first is to the MTG Goldfish page for the particular set. So you can see the current price and the daily change and weekly change, everything, all that good stuff that MTG Goldfish gets you. The second is a link to MTGO library bots page specific for that card, and that's why we need the collector number, because it's within this URL here. You can see prices for buying and selling at a quick glance. And as you sell cards and your quantity owned drops to 0, it is then moved to the closed positions spreadsheet. So here we have Porphyros, which we've bought and sold 16, so the number we own has become 0. It tracks the total amount in tickets you sold, the net profit, and then the profit per card. All of this data goes through a hidden sheet that I just called Data 1 that we can just mostly keep hidden. You can see here there's the Porphyrosis with a quantity of 0 and the Xenagos with a quantity of 10. And it's good for 400 different cards, after which you're going to have to carry on this formula. But otherwise, you just want to leave this sheet hidden and not touch it. So now we can go through a quick live demonstration of how this works. So say we want to purchase a card, buy, and as you can see, autocomplete is on. So I just typed in B and the rest of buy is starting to be filled out. This is more important for card names. If you want to get spelling right. So let's say we bought 4 Huntmaster of the Fells from Ascension for 4.2 tickets each from, let's say, a bot we haven't bought from before. How about MTGO? You can see traders. It's going to take a second to calculate. That's one of the downsides to using Google Sheets, is that it is online. So A, you have to be connected to the internet, and B, it takes sometimes a bit of time to load, unlike Microsoft Office Excel, which is pretty much instantaneous. So you can see here we spent 16.8 tickets at MTGO traders. They're going to shortly pop up in this list here, boop, with 2 tickets of credit. If we go over to our current portfolio, we now have 4 Huntmasters. As I said, at the moment we have to manually input the collector number if we want, but the MTG Goldfish link will still work without that. And it is not in our closed positions. If we go and do a sell transaction, let's say we got lucky and in a couple of hours it spiked. Master, say it spiked up to 6.4 tickets, and we sold that to maybe Clan Team. You can see the autofill is very useful because many bots have, like MotoMart, I know, is MotoMart 1, 2, and 3. So you just pick a unified name if you want to keep track of the shared credit, and the autofill helps you ensure that you're consistent with that unified name, because this populated list is completely case sensitive. So if you have a space or a number, any difference at all between two different names, it's going to show up as two different bots there. It's certainly not intelligent enough to figure out which bots are part of the same shared credit system. That's up to you. So our credit has changed for Clan Team. We're now at 0 credit. Our current portfolio, you see that Huntmaster has now disappeared. If we go to closed positions, he's now here, and we made a tidy little 8.8 ticket profit with 2.2 per card. As in the first sheet, the top few rows have been frozen for if you have a lot of transactions. Same thing with the current portfolio sheet. You scroll down and you get to keep that column header. So that's pretty much it for this basic sheet. I'm going to be iterating on this and adding features as we move along. If there are any particular features anyone wants to see, I can focus on that, but I have in mind a few different ways that we can improve on this to help you with tracking your MTG and MTGO finance.